Hey everyone, EMA family. My name is George Gunn V, also known as Jew 5. I started working with EMA back in 2014. Then it was just a handful of people and it was still called Empower Me Training. If someone had told me that EMA would have grown to where it is today and I would have the courage to do this video in front of all of you, I wouldn't have believed you. When I started, some of you probably remembered seeing me. I could barely dribble, let alone shoot. I barely talked or looked at any of you. I was really shy, had a lot of self-doubt. My goal was never to play professionally. I just wanted to learn how to play well whenever I would go to the park and actually be okay with how I played. I went from having a very negative perspective about myself and never wanting to be around others until I started with EMA, which changed my life forever. Now I take acting classes and I want to be on more big screens. I live by myself. I take care of a cat named Maze. When I met Jerome, who most call Coach Gums, my dad and I really liked how pure and authentic and humble he was. What you see is what you get. I enjoyed the training. EMA, as most of you know, has very intense drills. They don't mess around. Some of you might remember the USF stairs. I always remember dreading them as a warm-up. However, I quickly realized that they made me a lot more, they really increased my endurance, basically. I discovered that when my dad, who used to train with me, had trouble catching up even though he was in decent shape. And that's what EMA does. It inspires you to be courageous while achieving things you never thought possible, while also becoming a better basketball player and leader. I genuinely believe that we are not only gathered here to watch this documentary, we're united here because the world needs EMA now more than ever. Again, my name is George Gunn V, and I'm empowered.
Hi everyone. George, thank you so much for such a heartfelt speech. However, you forgot one important thing. You have and will forever be my inspiration and empowerment. You have helped me get through so many rough days with your enthusiasm for life every time you showed up, so thank you. Now for why we're all here. Most of you are here because you know the world needs a new type of leadership. Leaders who are vulnerable and be comfortable being vulnerable. Leaders who have learned what it means to be resilient while being empathetic. Leaders who know how to show up with persistence and commitment in the face of odds. Leaders who know what fear looks like, feels like, but reaches deep still inside to find the courage to face up to it with a smile. They know that the best results come from teams who know how to work together versus breaking each other down. These vulnerable leaders will understand the power of what people can do when a common purpose unites them. An honest belief in someone else that is constant and genuine is powerful also. These leaders care so much about others that they are willing to give the shirt off their backs and all of the energy to help others succeed, and they celebrate it too. As most of you know, EMA is doing more than helping people become great at basketball. We are developing the vulnerable leadership that Brene Brown and Mark Benioff talks about. We're teaching your children the leadership skills we as adults didn't become familiar with until probably it was too late. And as we know, the one thing all of us can never master is leadership, because we're all on this constant educational journey called life. We all make mistakes, and we teach your children that mistakes are okay. We actually teach them that it's like they're allies, because without them, we cannot grow. EMA feels that this leadership journey that we are all on must start sooner so your children can learn how to lead a life that reflects their values, so they can lead their teams and communities to set sights higher, so they can be leaders in creating a better world for all of us through impact, not only money. A basketball court and hopefully our future home is the place where these lessons will continue to perpetuate and shape their lives. We will never stop helping your children, our future leaders, find the confidence, the sense of connection, the bravery to take on the world and make it better, while having a beautiful jump shot. If this documentary does only one thing, we hope it inspires you to spread this empowerment beyond this event, beyond EMA's doors. Again, thanks for joining, and we hope you enjoy the show.
Whenever I hear someone ask me what is Empower Me Academy, I can't help to think of the great Nelson Mandela when he said, sports has the power to change the world, it has the power to inspire. And it speaks to the youth in a language that they understand. And when you understand this concept and then you apply high-level coaching and teaching, that's Empower Me Academy.
Throughout life, things will happen and cause you to feel deflated, upset, whatever the case may be. And it is very difficult, but not impossible, to always have a good attitude. It is my job to maintain my energized personality, and that's the thought or the topic for today. We must all have an energized personality today. I need to see nothing but positive body language, positive attitudes. It is our obligation to make sure that the person next to us feels empowered. Basketball is one of the best metaphors for life, and it teaches you about teamwork. And I often wonder, how is it that a team that is so driven by chemistry and teamwork becomes so much about me? And I think a lot of the youth programs and organizations and leagues and games, it's about highlighting an individual. But at EMA, we're teaching kids that it's bigger than you. And I think the most powerful thing at EMA is that when you come to this program, you don't feel like you come in here to get better by yourself. You come here to join a family and be lifted up with the family, by the family, and get better.
Empowerment is you earn something to feel a certain way versus I'm going to hand it to you. EMA will never hand you anything. You earn your self-respect, you earn your empowerment, you earn your ability to lead, and there's no trophy for that.
Good energy so far. Actually, today was probably the best. So let's not let this drop. All right, let's continue to build. I don't believe in the concept, oh, as the week progresses, we get tired, we start. No, we work even harder. We empower through this.
I've been around the game and I've seen some very high-level training. I really thought what Jerome was offering was very elite. And it's not often that someone who played at Division I college basketball and then also played professionally come back and want to coach and train kids.
It's all about your character and who you are and how you're going to build your team. For him to do that, to be able to give those kids an opportunity to learn, and I hate to say it, the right way, it's beautiful.
The idea of these kids can be a part of a program that's, it's making them a better player. It's teaching them the skills and the fundamentals, but it's making them a better person. In my opinion, it's more than the game of basketball, and Jerome is exactly what embodies all of that.
The grind started back on the islands. The grind started by watching my mom get up at 4 in the morning every day to cook breakfast and go to work. The grind started watching my dad go to work at 5 in the morning. The grind started with me carrying bricks downstairs before I had to go to school. So when I started doing EMA, although it was a grind, I didn't really see it as that. I just saw it as being normal because I was conditioned from a young age to work this hard. Now, when you take a shot, I'm here. This is defense. Stealing the ball is not defense. My mom raised us under the ideology that whether you're a boy or girl, you have to be tough. One of my older sisters was the first girl to play flag football on St. Thomas. Majority of my sisters went on to the Army and kicked butt. So our upbringing was all about you have to be mentally tough. Not only to survive in life, but to sustain what you're going to experience as a black person. Because we knew that our upbringing was going to be a lot harder than kids that didn't look like us. And that's half of the story of EMA, is changing the narrative. Because when I was growing up, the only way out was through crime or sports. If someone had told me that I could have been the next Beethoven, someone could have told me I could have been the next great debater. No, it was either basketball, football, or crime. If it wasn't for my mom's resilience and always telling me to don't follow bad company, because when you're growing up with girls, no matter how much you love your sisters, as a boy, I want to be around boys. So I started looking to the streets, my mom would say. And there's normally nothing good in the streets. That enabled me to want to seek outside of the household for something different, and I found CB, who introduced me to basketball. All right?
Yeah, man.
And realized that the most important thing to teach me was how to use it as a tool. The conversation was never about NBA, never about college. And if it was about college, how can we better ourselves to get a free education? Because he knew that it was hard to obtain that type of education coming from where we're coming from. And to this day, I talk to CB at least once a week because he knows that the trajectory that I'm on, like I'm really trying to impact the world just like how he did in the Virgin Islands, because he's impacted so many young men and women. And my mom will tell you, have you talked to CB today? Have you thanked him?
I love both of you, I love all of you.
Because she understood CB probably saved my life. You know, before I got to USF, I was deciding between Cincinnati, the #1 team in the country, the year before, and USF. And when I chose USF, there was big expectations. And from the outside view, some people might think that was the most pressured thing in my life. But what people didn't understand is that when I was walking my first steps in USF, in the back of my mind, I'm telling myself, you're a dad. And it actually made me feel somewhat paralyzed, because the only way I could have been in my son's life was to give up a $250,000 scholarship. But I'm thinking to myself, if I don't receive this education, how am I going to take care of him? So I grew up with this hole that I couldn't fill, because I knew if I tried to fill it at that age, that it would have created even more obstacles in the future.
Jerome Gumpf puts it on the floor and slices through the lane. Nice contribution there.
Jerome's work ethic was clear as day. You know, he always led by example. He didn't necessarily vocally lead as a freshman, but it didn't take long for that to happen. And he's just one of those players that makes everybody better because they love competing with him. They love going to battle with him. It's no surprise that Jerome has been so successful in life now, and that how he is carrying forward all the intangibles that he always had as a player. It's great to see him focusing on that, and that's really what he's pushing forward to the kids that he's impacting every day.
I always knew I was going to be a coach. And I always felt that with my experiences, I needed to be one of those coaches that's always going to show up with that positive mindset, that belief in the kid, regardless of the situation or the outcome. And as I paid attention to where youth sports was going, I felt like we were going so far away from that I really just wanted to be a part of the group that's trying to balance the scale. When EMA first started, we started off at USF. I had the opportunity to meet a lot of the current players then. And I would be in there training Rex Walter's kids and some other kids. But during that time, I was also playing and working out myself. Next thing you know, they started coming to some sessions, and they started realizing, like, this is pretty hard, but they loved it.
When I look back on like Empower Me and kind of being one of those first people that was part of like the foundation of it all, I improved a lot more as an individual with a more like developed sense of cultural awareness. And there just aren't a lot of trainers and programs and academies that are integrating modern day social justice practices within sports, which actually in turn play a very vital role in improving both the athlete and the person. So here I was thinking, you know, I had finally made it as a Division I scholarship athlete that gets to train with the best of the best. Yet every morning in the off season over the summer, I was training with a kid in middle school from Oakland, 2 high school girls from the East Bay, a professional from the Virgin Islands, and a kid with fairly severe physical disabilities, not to mention the whole Walters family, all together. And 99% of trainers would have separated all of us depending on our sizes and skill set. But like the foundation of the Empower Me Academy was built off of the structure of training with a purpose that goes far beyond just basketball.
This is just part of the equation. In order to be great, we got to continue to work like this every day, every opportunity you get.
The whole purpose behind it was a very, very personal part of Jerome's life that probably wasn't easy to just express in front of people, no matter how close we were. Like, I think it took maybe a year of knowing Jerome for me to actually kind of learn his whole backstory and the fact that he had a son and that this is kind of what he wanted to do for his son.
One of the most grappling issues I had with not being in my son's life was that stigma that African-American dads don't show up.
I was living in rural Illinois, and I was one of the only black kids. Without having another black figure in my life to teach me how to deal and navigate through a very racist area, it was pretty hard.
I remember the first time I went to visit him, we were going to dinner, and he was a little shy. And I remember telling him, you never have to call me dad until I've earned it.
I feel like that was really important that he said that, because it was always hard for me to call anyone dad or father. And for him to say that, meant a lot, because I'd always struggled with that. And just having that be out there, because it still took some time, and we started out with Pops, but yeah, I feel like that really helped me embrace calling him dad.
How you doing, mommy? Told you she'd be happy to see you. He wasn't gonna come here if I didn't earn that title of being dad. I don't think you just inherit it because you have a kid. You have to show up. So one day he's like, Pops, I want to be the next Russell Westbrook. I started actually panicking, because now as a dad, I want to protect my son from the coaches that almost caused me to give up, and not just basketball, but just on everything. So I made a decision to push him to believing in himself, because that confidence that you build up in sports, you're gonna need it in life. Not every kid is gonna be gifted. Not every kid is gonna be lucky or injury-free to experience it. I think every kid should experience the type of high excellence and high experience and just character building, really focusing on the internal part, meaning I'm gonna coach you from within, and that exterior part of you, or the athlete part, is secondary. Come on, don't give up on me. Two more. And at first, it was hard for people to digest, because if you didn't experience it yourself, you didn't know what it was. And a lot of parents second guessed it, because I was, I was strict. You had to touch the lines, you had to be early, or you had to do push-ups. So are we working hard? Let's do it again. But the parents that played at the highest level, I recognize this. Why didn't I get this at this age? This is high intensity drills. I don't think you understand. This is how I coach. But the people that didn't get it started believing in it once my son started visiting. Because they were like, man, he's too hard on my kid. But then when they started seeing me coach my son, they were like, oh yeah, my kid has it easy. If I see you shaking your head again, I will just take your entire team off. Where I'm from, my coach never gave me calls, and it made me much more mentally tough. So you need to understand, I will never give you calls. That's when I started earning a lot more respect by parents, because they knew how much I loved my son, but they saw how much I would push him. So that's when EMA started really rolling. That is how you play.
I think he's one of the best you can ask for, especially with all that he has on his plate, because he's building me up into a young man, but also building an academy and building all these other people up to become the best versions of themselves at the same time as trying to become the best version of himself. I'd have to say he's a really good dad.
Did you know 95% of all Fortune 500 CEOs played sports? Well, there's a basketball academy that I know that would like to crank out more of those.
It's 7 o'clock in the evening at Booker T. Washington Center in San Francisco. These kids, elementary to high school, are sharpening their basketball skills. They are training under the watchful eye of Jerome Gums, founder of Empower Me Academy.
Jerome started this like any amazing entrepreneur, had an idea, had a passion, and just started to build it. Build it as a, for all intents and purposes, a sole proprietorship. And over the years, like any good entrepreneur, you find people who can mentor you, can give you advice because they've made similar mistakes and or victories in building something. And Jerome just did this amazing job of building this ecosystem of people. And we asked Jerome, what's your vision here? Do you want to build this and make a bunch of money and sell it? I remember Jerome, I think almost interrupting me and saying, no, it's the latter. Like, I am doing this for my son. I'm doing this because of what my mom and my sisters instilled in me. I don't care about the money. I want to build this for kids. There was this group of us and we said, we ought to make this a nonprofit. And the reason we ought to do that is because you have so many people that want to support you that by making a nonprofit, it opens up the aperture for us to have that support to create a program. And so when we did that, we started to form a board.
When I first started Empower Me Training, it was a nonprofit before we went into a for-profit, and the person that I picked back then was David. I always respected this man because he has shown me a whole different perspective on how to be a leader, and we're lucky to have him as our president because, we like to say we coach from our hearts. He governs and leads with his heart. People that were picked on the board were people I trust that when times get rough and times get tough, and let's say we continue to expand and grow, I can trust them that we'll stay true to the mission of EMA. Every board member expressed in some capacity that I love that my kid has been able to receive this, but I wish every kid can experience this.
The organization was really trying to, become what it could become at the next stage. It required a different kind of support. It required a different cooperative leadership, right? I don't think, the intent of the board is ever to say, we're going to do what we do. It's going to be, how do we amplify what your goals are?
Victor has emerged as someone I respect. Here's someone that's been incredibly successful, believing that what we're doing at EMA is that valuable and that important that it needs to be everywhere. One time I approached him to do some videos, and I said, do you know anyone that can do videos on our budget? And he replied like, what you're doing at EMA, I don't think you're really capturing it. And that's when he created the leadership series. Because he felt, after he interviewed every kid and crafted each video to their experience, whether it's resilience that they developed at EMA, whether it was courage, he wanted to capture the true essence of EMA, and I thought he did a remarkable job.
Like the pivot in there, that looks great. How can the organization be authentic to that marketing, to that message, to the goals? How can we capture the emotion, internal struggle that the athletes encounter, and how does basketball fit into that?
Soft sleep.
I think the kids' ability to articulate what they were getting out of the organization was incredible. Our goal was just try to put that out and have them be able to express that in the terms that are relevant to them. Each one of the kids had a different priority, different goal, a different thing that they were challenged with. The goal is to try to encapsulate that message. What's in it for you beyond being just good at basketball?
In basketball, someone wins and someone loses. But these victories or defeats will pass.
I look fear straight in the eye because every failure helps me grow.
There are things you want in life, things you want to achieve. So you have to do what others aren't willing to do.
I'll be the scientist. I'll be running for office. Maybe you don't believe me, but you don't need to, because I do.
My name is Sterling Ludington Simmons.
Marcella Bustamante.
And I am empowered.
Ultimately, Jerome gave a lot of latitude and trust. You know, I think when you trust that someone else is going to take care of your baby as well as you do, then you know, it's different.
I never wanted this to be the Jerome Show. I never wanted this to be Coach Gumb's Academy. I always wanted it to be something that San Francisco, the Bay Area, or even the country can be proud of, because we started focusing on the kids. We started investing in the kids.
Having a program like EMA where our kids of all different backgrounds see that we have leaders that are Black, Latino, male, female, and there's this mix. That's how we're going to change the paradigm in this country, is for people to see more and more leaders of all different backgrounds.
Here you have an African-American CEO, and then myself, director of operations, you know, a Latino, and you know, we're coaching and mentoring all these kids from different walks of life. And sometimes I have to pinch myself. It's like, is this really happening?
We as people of color need to see others of color really becoming successful and thriving. We don't see it enough.
I want to become a CEO, a person of color, where kids that look like me are inspired to do better than me.
What I have seen is his profound mentorship and how in the different phases of Empower Me Academy, when you can tell even when times are hard, he is doing outreach and bringing in kids, often from not so privileged backgrounds.
I'm from the Western Addition here in San Francisco, one of the roughest parts of neighborhoods in San Francisco. And I've been looking for a mentorship program for my son for the longest. I've even reached out to the district supervisors to try to start one on my own. Hi, Jerome.
Jess tracked me down one day and called me, and she was explaining to me what her kids were going through. And at first it was her son she wanted to have enroll in the program, because she felt that he needed a role model or someone that can exude the excellence that she was looking for in a male figure. And I remember her explaining the Fillmore environment. And when she explained it, I immediately reverted back to how I was raised, how I had to navigate my upbringing. You know, St. Thomas, the Virgin Islands as a whole, which was named the murder capital in 2018. So when she was telling me about it, I immediately felt like I need to create this platform to give this kid a way out.
I like how they started off with the 101s, because I felt like that's something that my son needed. You know, I'm a single mom. He's in a house with girls, me and his sisters. Really doesn't have a strong role model in his life. And then after a while, he started getting more and more comfortable with them, and I started seeing his confidence grow.
It got to become such a beautiful relationship that her daughter, who started playing basketball a little bit later, wanted to come, and it was really a blessing.
I just was starting off with basketball in the 6th grade, and then my mom finally signed me up, and I went to my first session, and I was like, wow, this is so much fun. And I realized that it was much harder than like school practices and like much more educational.
She usually outworks everyone in the gym. You know, what she lacks in experience, she makes up with effort.
From 7th grade to 8th grade, I got more confident. I became more of a leader. I definitely feel like I belong there. Like, I could call it my second home.
One time, I didn't get off work in time, and they walked all the way from home to Empower Me Academy, and I was like, oh my God, why would you guys do that? You know, because I'm just like super freaked out about the neighborhood that we live in.
I love this place, and it means that much to me that I would walk there, and it didn't even seem that long because I was just so excited to go to Empower Me.
They've learned so much in the program on the court to where some of those skills transitioned into the classroom. My son used to have issues with his behavior, and Once he got into this program, I just started seeing a difference. The way he engaged with his teachers, the way he engaged with his peers. He was more responsible when it came to homework. He actually ended the semester with a 4.0. My black son is a straight A student. My daughter, she's also utilized these skills in the classroom. She was elected valedictorian, 4.0 student, top of her class. This program has been a real blessing to my family as a single mom. I need support. It takes a village to raise a child, and I feel like we are a part of Empower Me Academy's village.
I think so far we've done a fantastic job of not knowing which kids are being supported so that they can be here in the program, which kids are in a family situation where they can pay full tuition, so to speak. That's not known, and by design.
Empower me on 3, grade 1.
Empower me on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Empower me. One word that represents EMA is excellence. From the apparel, from the way we talk to one another, from the way we show up.
And the more consistent you are, the better you'll be. Honestly, because the more I was in the gym, the better my game was. What are you doing as far as hard work? What does hard work mean to you? Because everybody's version of hard work is different.
I've seen him take kids of various athletic abilities, and they all, after months of training, have a newfound joy in using their body, a newfound confidence.
The whole idea of developing the whole self and high priority on character, that translates into being on these teams. And I've seen both of my boys really excel in that way. And I think a large part of that is them having those values continue to be reinforced by Jerome and coming here as often as they have.
What this is, Empower Me Academy, and what we're experiencing now is what everyone dreams and hopes that they would have growing up playing sports. And I'm just excited now that it's been established so that the youth can experience this, because growing up, I didn't get this experience whatsoever. All I got was, hey, you go in the gym, you work out, your parents pay a ton of money for AAU, you travel.
AAU has its place because what it does is it showcases people to universities playing against the supposedly best players in that state, that area. If you're from a smaller school and you're not getting that recognition, it's good. But what it doesn't do is able to develop those players individually, to make them great fundamental players. Those places where to be able to find what Jerome does, it's a dying breed.
I'm Rakshan, and for this month's lifestyle segment, I'm sitting down with varsity basketball player Yoav Pantalat.
My older son was a very athletic kid. To get up to speed, he felt like he needed to play AAU. That's all we knew about. And it was one of the most frustrating and disappointing experiences. Credit to the handful of very good coaches he had, that a lot of the AAU coaches were just people who liked basketball and played in high school, but were not high-level coaches. And so it was very, very frustrating. We would drive out to Sacramento and spend a whole weekend, and he might get 3 minutes of playing time on Saturday and 3 minutes on Sunday and be crushed and not understand why, and it often didn't make him better. So when we moved to the city and my younger son, who's 7 years younger, decided he wanted to get into basketball, I knew he needed something, but I thought AAU would chew him up and spit him out.
So when she found us and her son did his first workout, she was like, wow, what is this? And from that day, her son has probably become the most consistent.
After 6 months of working out with Coach Gums, he came back to tryouts. The coach took my husband aside and said, what happened to Adam? I'm grabbing him for the A team. And I think that's when his friend Athos noticed, wait a minute, we were at the same level on the A team in 7th grade and you came back and you're just like playing at a new level. Like, what are you doing?
I know Adam for several years, and his game was improving so much. So I asked his mom, about what's going on with Adam. Where is Adam going to, to improve his game like that? When I heard about Empower Me, I came and I watched training for like 15 minutes, and I thought to myself, this is the place. I found the place for my sons. For the last 2 years, Ato Jr., he's going to start his 3rd year in high school, and for the first 2 years, he was the captain of the team. On the other hand, Porthos, he was able to start even younger, and I'm sure he will have the same path of Ato Jr., or even better, because he was lucky to be part of the Empower Me program.
Ruthie was a kid who was born with sort of an inability to understand the word no. I mean, even if we had told her she couldn't do things, she has zero fear and an unbelievable spirit.
She's legally blind, and she's told me that she's going to play college basketball. She's constantly reminding me not to change the drills because of her situation. And she's like, Coach, no. I want to do this just like everyone else.
When she was diagnosed with albinism, I think we didn't really know what to expect, especially in terms of sports. We found a local AAU club, and it was definitely challenging for her, I think socially, emotionally, and otherwise. But it was definitely one of these places where their expectations for her were that she was gonna fail. They didn't believe in her, and it was sad. I remember vividly driving in the car, and she's just like in tears and broken, and this sport that this kid had taught herself to play when she was, 7 years old, she now not only didn't love, but didn't even like it.
When it kept happening and happening, I would be so annoyed and kind of broken, and that's when I told my dad, I don't want to play basketball anymore.
Here's a girl that could go through life being told that she's very limited and cannot be successful because of something she has no control over. Something that gave her so much joy, and because of her toxic experience, she almost quit basketball. And then when they found us, they were almost in tears because they saw that joy be rekindled.
She comes here loving basketball and goes home loving basketball. She just loves the work. She loves to work harder and harder and harder and get better and better, challenge herself and do as well as she can. And I think really the environment here is about supporting them and building them up to bring out the best that they have.
When coach asked me, what are your dreams? I said it I want to play college basketball, but I was told that's never gonna happen. So I kind of said it playfully, is yeah, I want it, but do I actually really believe? No. But then I've definitely changed that. And now I'm yeah, I'm definitely gonna play college basketball, and I don't care who says I'm not going to.
Good job, Ruthie.
Nigel, he plays you like that, I'm just posting up wanting the ball. Play basketball.
I think EMA is not only offering a program on the basketball court, but I think it's offering a program for life. And I think that's what the coaches at EMA are trying to do, is really connect with the human inside each child. That involves the physical, the mental, and the heart.
Good footwork, beautiful. What a work, you two. We don't teach and coach like anyone else, so you're gonna have to relearn our methods and our verbiage. But as long as you have a passion and put the kids first, that's all that matters.
Every single person has been of incredibly high quality, people of character and integrity, people you trust your children with.
The greatest thing for me, and the thing that I want to continue to get better at, is just being that person that cares and see the individual for who they are as a person. And obviously you want to help them get better at the sport, but at the end of the day, you want to help them become a better version of themselves.
I'm probably one of the only players from Fillmore that got a chance to experience something bigger than Fillmore as far as for basketball. I put a lot of time and effort into the game, and I feel like it's only right that I pass down what I've learned and what I've dedicated my whole life to those that are interested in also playing basketball.
The coaches encourage us to get better, and they help us become better leaders and better players on and off the court. Even when you're doing like a group session, it feels so personal because they're so into the practice or the drill that it just feels really good.
When the coach is talking, nobody's dribbling the ball. Everybody's paying attention because that lesson will fit for not for only that player, but for everybody. And this is beautiful to see the players learning that lesson at that age.
If we're not competing in the drill, we're encouraging our teammates, clapping for them, counting how many baskets they've made.
When you get to sit back and watch a drill or a competition and just see these kids screaming, "You can do it, like don't stop," like that's verbatim, like what these kids are yelling, like chanting the name like over and over. That's when the kids are giving back to me, and it's so special to get to be a part of that. And that's what EMA is teaching these kids, and that is going to apply to anything you do in life. The ability to encourage others, to not want to tear people down, to work with others, to understand that the success of your team means the success of yourself.
We need you, just don't worry about it. Next play.
I think it's one of the unique things about EMA, all the encouragement. It's the first place I've really been to that's been like that. I think it's made the environment a lot more safe for other players, and I think it's what makes our culture different from other teams.
If you stay with the program and you keep doing it, and you see a lot of the same kids, and you see a lot of the success, then he has kids come back from college. And I think what's also great is, there was a time when Roman was the smallest one playing with the older kids, and now sometimes he's the oldest one playing with the smaller kids, and you kind of see it come full circle.
Roman was one of the younger kids working out with me first. I pushed him really hard, and he pushed me as well. Like we kind of like battled together, and you would think like, all right, is this college athlete battling with a guy that's in middle school? And it was just like, he just competed. So it was like, I competed as well, and it worked out. We got better.
All right, let's go, we out, let's go. One thing that's very important at EMA is respect. Respect across the board, whether you're a girl or boy, whether you're old or young. Mixed age and mixed gender training is so transformative. It's transformative because when you have a female coach coaching a guy,
Quick. There you go, push yourself, quick. Good, Connor, keep working, Connor.
and they have so much respect for them, and after seeing them do these drills at such a good rate,
Two, step into it, 1, 2.
they immediately become more open to realizing that girls are just as good as us. And now because of that experience and that kind of inside view, now they respect girls that are their peers because they see what they're gonna turn into when they get to that level. So EMA's blueprint for allowing females to come in and empower boys is something that should be blanketed across not just youth programs, but across the country and across the world.
We're all equal when we come together is like one of the greatest things of Empower Me, because when you step out on that court, for me, I've never really noticed a difference between, oh, I'm playing with all the guys today. It's never like, that's never really the first thing that comes to mind, because it's almost something to the point where I don't notice it because everyone's treated the same.
And when I speak, they all listen to me with the same respect as they would Jerome, or as they would Rachel, or as they would any of the coaches, and I love that.
Still, listen, your hips are still parallel here. When you go over here, it's still coming off.
For kids to see people like them doing what they're trying to do, already in the positions that they're trying to attain, it is extremely important. The idea of visibility, just seeing that person, you don't even need to speak to them, and you automatically are like, I can do that.
I feel like Jerome's kind of, the older I've gotten, he's been really good about kind of not just talking to the girls and being like, oh, look at Emily, she started with us from a young age, look where she is now, but like also to the boys too.
Good, that's your shot. Good.
I felt that that was really good for my son to learn to play with
members of the opposite sex, and they're all playing and giving their all.
It's not always who you are, what you look like. It's basically what you can do.
If you are stationary, then you are not doing it correctly.
I take it as, what can I learn from them? How can I get better? Because they're obviously trying to help me get
Hips
better.
parallel here, then hips parallel to this wall.
And we're all growing and learning together.
Empower me on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Empower me! Check out. Let's go. Check out. Good job. Great job. Good work, y'all.
One of the biggest challenges we have at EMA is space. It's really hard to find basketball courts, either indoor or outdoor, in San Francisco. Most of them are from schools or rec and park. And in both of those cases, there's a lot of programming that's already happening. So it's hard for it to be available all the time. So we've always had this dream, and it's one of the reasons we wanted to be a nonprofit, so we could partner with great organizations that were supporting the San Francisco community, and in particular organizations that wanted to help fellow nonprofits. So another community member who supports EMA is Dennis Williams. His son Clyde is in the program, and he's also serves as the president of the board at Fort Mason. And so he started brainstorming with and just letting Jerome know, like, you ought to talk to the team here. This is one of those situations where kind of the stars align.
I've been involved with several organizations. And the first thing I ask myself before I consider getting involved with any group is, do I have confidence in the organization? Is it something I can put my name behind?
And Jerome's inspired that confidence, and he does it every day. When you're asked to then be a part of an organization and support it, and you see how it's being run and the impact that it's having on your children, it's pretty easy to say, this is something I want to support. And I want to bring my resources to the table to help make things happen. In the meantime, in the post-COVID environment, we have a number of event spaces where we can't do anything right now. So those are basically empty. So Pier 3 is a great example, the Festival Pavilion. It's a massive space, and there's the opportunity to run indoor camps at great distances between the kids. They've got hoops set up, but it's such a big space, over 50,000 feet, with a small number of basketball hoops and open air and everything else to provide circulation for safety and spacing and all the other things that you need. So it's really served as a short-term solution for EMA in San Francisco.
Fort Mason has been an incredible gift to EMA. I mean, what an opportunity to be in a space like this.
Jerome did a lot of effort over the years, finding temporary homes, kind of being very agile and fluid. But then it's come now time to create a facility where it's a home where there can be structured classes, group sessions, individual coaching, tutoring, education that's bigger than just the court time, right? And I think that's been a dream for quite a while. We're going to start from something, start from empty and create something, right? And maybe that's why it's apropos that this is a huge empty space that gets filled with, the goals of EMA.
EMA wants to keep kids here, keep them spending weekends with family versus one parent is driving this kid to Vegas, one parent is driving this kid to Portland. When are you going to be a family? The vision has always been to create this hub where kids can come, whether it's a classroom for kids to do homework, it's a classroom for kids to learn how to code, or it's a studio for kids to do some yoga and learn mindfulness. Once you walk through those doors, you don't ever have to leave because you have everything you need under one roof.
This holistic focus on respect, leadership, developing your own inner strength, no matter your actual ability in basketball. For some, it's going to help them, they're going to get a Division I scholarship, that's awesome. For others, it's going to help them be successful in college, in vocational school, in whatever they do after high school.
The energy and the focus that I'm having now, not to say you don't always do it, but I'm loving how y'all are rising to the occasion. This is beautiful. Clap it up for yourself. We want to be known for developing leaders. That's the narrative we need to become. Like, yes, we want you to play in the NBA, we want you to play in college, but while you're on that path, develop all the other things you're gonna need when you're an adult.
I wish more than anything that I knew Jerome when I was 13 years old. Just that environment. It's not only the skill building, but the environment, and again, the attention to detail around your whole body. Better slide. Not this, this.
He's aligned really important life skills with athletics. They should always have been aligned, but he's done that so beautifully and seamlessly. The way I look at it, sports is kind of boot camp for life, and he's created a little bit of this chicken noodle soup for the athletic soul.
It's 2 twists, so put the ball on the inside.
I think it's so important, and I think it's very visionary that they would have somebody like this, somebody working on the mental side, along with the physical side. We have these huge, high physical expectations of this kid, but what we don't realize is we also have very high mental expectations of the kid, and nobody's addressing or helping him grow in that area as well.
When you don't have those fundamentals, when things go wrong, the psychological impact of that sort of compounds and things fall apart. But when you've got the fundamental framework in place, you can manage things that go wrong and still kind of move forward.
There is a big focus right now on helping kids to know themselves, to have confidence, to be able to express themselves, to be in touch with their feelings. I think a program like this is essential at this time. We know that there are rising rates of anxiety and depression. We live in a very competitive culture. And so a program like EMA that not only focuses on basketball and sports skills, EMA is also focusing on helping to build resiliency and confidence and the mental and social skills that are going to be necessary for these kids to navigate the world and to navigate their life going forward.
We started back where Jerome was probably told every single day, this is a great idea, man, this sounds really good, but there's no way you're ever gonna get there. And to watch him go from USF to then scrambling to finding gyms to rent out, stressing, but staying patient, really enjoying the process, celebrating all of those minor, little, small wins. And now here we are today, and it's chills again, because it's just getting started.
This is a blueprint, and this is something that's building and building, and hopefully is going to bring social change through sports and through working out. There's no private school, there's no public schools, there's no lottery system. It's just a giant gym with high-level coaches from all over the country that have played at all professional levels, training kids not just to be great basketball players, but successful, hard-working leaders that are prepared for success in life. It's probably one of the most important opportunities you can give your kid.
We hope everyone enjoyed the documentary and feel compelled to get involved. Whether you want to learn more, donate, or help us find a home, please contact us at emaleaders.org. I would be remiss not to thank everyone that's made this possible. The first thank you goes to Katie Morgan for spending countless hours putting this masterpiece together. Special thanks go to our board members, especially our executive board. You know who you are. Big thank you to our partner, Fort Mason, and their fabulous team for allowing us to use this venue. Last but definitely not least, to our families and everyone that showed up tonight. This event doesn't happen without your support. So again, when I speak for the entire organization, we are incredibly grateful. Now, let's unite and change the world by spreading this empowerment.